Well, okay, let's pause it for.
Hello?
Hi, Lillian.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, it's raining really bad here. I'm I'm a little concerned about the connectivity, but I think we'll be okay. Hi, Danielle.
Hello.
Hi, how are you? Did I
Good.
send
How are you?
good? Did I send you enough information?
Yes, you did. Thanks.
Well, in the PowerPoint slide, I did include the golden ratio robotics. You know that.
Yeah, I saw that.
I said, "Oh, let me put
Super
this."
fun. Yeah, you can present that first if you're wanting to. I can, and then I can just skip over my
No,
one slide.
no. Let's do yours. We can share, and you can tell your story. It's better to do yours.
Because yours has pictures, mine doesn't. Yeah.
Are you sure you want me to? I can put them up now.
Oh, yeah. No, that's fine. Yeah, that'd be great.
It was fun putting it together, I have to tell you.
I was like, wow. Okay.
The service summary. That's incredible. Let's see if I can get this. Yeah. I am not going to do the full screen because when I do that, for some reason I can't see the Zoom platform. So, but this is good. I love what I see here. I love that Judson finally promoted this. It's like Dr. Kroon has been talking about this since like, okay, let's do some.
He's a spaniel mix. Don't really know.
Okay.
I mean, that's all I know.
What's his name?
He's high energy. Murphy.
My dog used to be high energy, but I tell you, here's a true sign that he has lost his energy. He left the door open, and there was a little chipmunk that was running around the house, and he did not respond at all. It's like, what's happening here? You've lost all of your energy, all of it. Or the other day, I was, trying to motivate him and tell him that red was green. And then all of a sudden, he, lifted his little head and looked, and then he laid back down, not interested. So he's aging, but he's my doggy. Yeah. Is there an echo? Can you hear an echo?
No, I don't hear an echo. No, I don't.
Okay. That's good.
It's a little bit of an echo, but I think it's due to this inclement weather.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, I'm a little concerned. I just received an advisory about 5 minutes ago that severe weather will be coming through McHenry County, so it's beginning to storm now. So we just have to have a part 2, Danielle, if we don't finish on time.
Okay.
Yeah, you said okay. Yeah. It is 6:31, and I don't want us to miss a thing. Let's see if here. Just want to make sure this works. Can you see the screen?
Yes.
Okay.
And
Yes. So I'll drive the slides. Is that okay, Danielle? Can you hear me?
yeah, go for it.
Okay.
I can hear you.
All right. So Lillian, I don't have to say I'm Dr. Karen Love because you're in my program. So thank you for joining us tonight. But I just want to say that, over the last few weeks, we've had discussions about organizational leadership through a prism of multidiscipline perspectives. And one of the courses that's taught in the graduate class or graduate program is intergenerational leadership. So the students have an opportunity to study the traditionalists, the boomers, Gen X and Gen Ys, but there's not a lot of information about Gen Zs. So I wanted Danielle to come to just open up that discussion because of the fact that we don't know a lot about Gen Zs, but that is the next generation. They're coming right behind us, and we want to be prepared in how to train them and mentor them. One thing about the Generation Zs is the fact that that was the generation that was going to inherit a strong economy and low unemployment, but then COVID-19 happened, and that was quite a disruption for them. So the trauma of experiencing that right now, along with, you know, knowing someone, whether it's in their family or a relative that has died, or someone has lost their job, or there's a cut in pay. So there's a lot of disruption that's going on that's going to mark this generation with disruption, social unrest, civil unrest, COVID-19. So there's a lot of trauma that's going on here. So I wanted Danielle to stop by tonight and talk to us about Gen Zs. And she's going to talk about Gen Zs within the organizational construct. Before we start, can you guys hear that rain? Because it's really coming down. No? Okay, perfect. Perfect, perfect. Because I didn't want any feedback. So welcome, Danielle.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. Hi, Lillian. Thank you for joining.
Before you start, Danielle, let me make sure I can see the participants, the people trying to get in. And all right, let's see. Okay, let's move this over. Okay, we're ready. We're ready to start.
Awesome.
So Danielle, will you tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and I love the ministry and your servant summary. So it's all about you. And I was looking at your projects and your experience. I mean, to be so young in terms of the number of projects and how advanced they are, it's amazing to me. It's absolutely amazing. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so if you want to move forward to the next slide. This is kind of a professional and personal summary. So I am a trained engineer in terms of, I have a mechanical engineering degree from Vanderbilt University, and I also have a minor in engineering management. But last year, after almost 10 years of experience of working in medical device manufacturing, I got swept away and joined AbbVie, which is a pharmaceutical company. And since then, I've been doing data analysis. I actually just had a somewhat lateral promotion to a new role, just shy of being 1 year there. So my current title is called Force Field Deployment Manager. And I directly support the hepatitis C virus field and the oncology field for AbbVie. I live in Oak Brook, Illinois, and I have an analytical mind. I like numbers. I like data. I like tinkering. There's a reason I'm an engineer. I hate writing. I hate putting together things like this where I have to do PowerPoints and talk about myself. But I love learning. I love listening to people, and I'm a very curious person. I'm always asking why, and my parents tell me lots of stories about myself, asking so many questions when I was a young person. So in my personal life, yeah, I do a lot. I sometimes overextend myself. It's one of my flaws and strengths in terms of I get a lot done with a little bit of time. But my family, I'm the oldest of 3 siblings from St. Louis, Missouri. I am Greek and African American, so woohoo to mixed babies. And therefore, I have a diverse background that I was raised in. I have a puppy named Murphy, which you see his picture there, who goes everywhere with me. I've lived in 7 different states, and he's been to quite a few of those states with me. So he's a mobile dog. I love mentoring kids, tutoring them. It's kind of my passion that children should not go to college and have student loan debt. So I kind of take some individual kids under my wing and help them with their scholarship applications, their resumes, even just figuring out what schools they want to go to, what would be a good viable options for them in terms of where they are academically, as well as what is reasonable for them financially. Sometimes counselors don't do a good job at presenting options to them. So yeah, that's one of my passions. I help run a children's ministry. That takes a lot of my time during the week. And I like traveling as well. I have friends all over the country, all over the world. So I like going and kind of partaking in their hospitality. And then I also like receiving in terms of I live in a house full of professional young women, and our door is always open. We have Friday night dinners every single night, and whoever wants to come is welcome to come. So sometimes we have 10, 20 people here that we're making food for. And yeah, it's just really, I love having a dynamic life, basically. I think Karen has some of what I've been doing. So this is kind of a what I've done since COVID hit summary. My roommates and neighbors and I, we started kind of like a Rosie the Riveter mask making factory immediately, and donated over 300 masks to healthcare providers and over 50 masks to homeless in Chicago. I volunteered time with a few organizations down in the South Side, and so they were in need of masks, so we were able to provide to individuals there, which was really awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. At my church, we have a pantry, so given the flexibility that AbbVie has with my work schedule, I'm able to be able to go there once a week to give out food to the community, and they serve 50 plus families a week in the Mount Prospect and surrounding areas with non-perishable items, as well as items for families that have young children, so diapers, formula, etc. And we get our teens involved. The middle picture there is one of our teens practicing social distance serving, where she wrote letters to her whole neighborhood and then set up a bin outside of her house so that people in the neighborhood could donate items, you know, in a socially distanced, acceptable way, but still making an impact for families all over, which was really awesome.
Danielle, oh.
And then if you want to,
there you go.
I think you're frozen.
Okay. How's this?
Oh, there we go.
Okay.
There we go, yeah. A part of staying connected during this social distance time, we've done a lot of things in terms of dropping off bags to families. We made Easter bags for our families in the ministry. The next slide is just volunteering at the food bank. They need more help than ever now with the need being so great. People have lost their jobs. Supplies are really low they were very low in grocery stores. So just being a part of that was really, really awesome.
Now this young man, amazing.
This is great. Yeah. So I was, so I had the pleasure of meeting this young man. So our kids ministry team had put together bags to give to the homeless, and we wanted to kind of partner with an organization that's already doing something like that, as opposed to just me personally going out and handing bags to people all over the city, kind of find like a central location. So this young man, Jaquil, he's 12 years old. He owns his own nonprofit called Project I Am. It's been a really amazing partnership because he's come on to, we have weekly Zoom calls with our middle schoolers. He's come on and shared his story, and has now made a connection with these kids that are his age, and so that they are empowered to kind of step up and make a difference in their own sphere of influence. But yeah, I'm looking forward to working with him and his family more in the future, especially because coincidentally, his organization is only a few blocks away from the community center that I volunteer at. So it's just been a really amazing journey, like learning about that community, learning about the resources there and the needs in their community, and like kind of being a conduit and connecting these different organizations to each other so that they can make an even greater impact. And it's even more exciting because he is of the Gen Z and he is the future of that community. So yeah, it's been really neat to know him and work with him, and his mom and dad and his grandmother is in the picture there, holding up the bag. So that's really cool.
So how old was he when he started this program? Was he 10 or 12? Was he 12?
9 years old.
9?
9. He was 9 years old when he started. Yeah.
And he has a 501c3 as well.
Yes.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yep. I love reading about him. He's dynamic.
Yeah.
He really is. And so in terms of the blessing bags, you donated about 40 blessing bags. So they have a list of things that you can donate to give to the homeless. Has the protocol changed since COVID-19? How does that work?
No, I mean, his just for himself and his own family's safety, he's not out passing out bags as often anymore. But they are still doing packing, obviously, while wearing masks and gloves. And they were even including masks in the bags. And they were working with homeless shelters where the homeless were actually entering the shelter and then would receive a bag. So they were kind of doing drop-offs of entire boxes of pre-made bags as opposed to going out into the community like he has done in the past.
Okay, very good. All right. Kids in middle school ministries. Okay. Did you want to talk about your Zoom check-ins?
Sure. I mean, we had to have some semblance of kids ministry, especially since church has been closed. We didn't want the kids and even our families actually to have the sense that they were left alone through this time. So one way of connecting was on Mondays, we would have a Zoom call with our younger kids, ages 5 through 12. So kindergarten through 5th grade. And then our middle schools on Wednesday nights, 6th through 8th grade. We've encouraged them to write cards to the elderly in the church. A lot of what we focused on was understanding, like, this is definitely a monumental time, an unprecedented time in their life, and actually many people's lives. It's not an unprecedented time in the world, but it's definitely something new that we're all experiencing in this day and age. And yet there's still so much opportunity. We just wanted them to be aware that the world didn't stop just because things changed or were shut down, that there was still a need for connection. There's still a need for serving. Now, maybe we have the opportunity to be more creative about that, how we go about it. But it doesn't mean that this was the time to kind of shirk back and be, how do you say? Yeah, complacent, or just waiting for things to change again. So we actually have 2 sponsor children that the kids know very well via letters and pictures. So we had encouraged them through this time, because we don't really know what is going on over in India where they live, that the kids would maintain contact with them. So that's been really cool to kind of bring awareness that, you know, even now in America where things are shut down and people are suffering hardships, our hardships still are not even close to the level of hardships across the world. Even the poorest person here in America is still much richer than the poorest person, you know, over in India or Southeast Asia. So yeah, that's been really awesome to have those conversations with the kids and help them to maintain like a reframing of everything that they're being bombarded with in a way during this time.
All right, so that's the golden ratio.
Yeah. Yeah, and then back to my nerd status of loving engineering. I graciously accepted Karen's proposal for me to be a part of this, supporting this awesome team. I obviously haven't been doing much of anything, and they haven't been doing much of anything since COVID hit, and I had just started participating with their group, but I look forward to the next year and continuing to step in and support them, because yeah, again, this is the next generation, and these are the creators that are coming up right behind us. So to be able to pour into them and give them encouragement and give them vision has been really awesome. And there's a picture of myself and Karen on a panel for participants at their state finals, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And
Nautilin as well. She's presented, and she's part of Friday night chats as well. So she presented on nursing informatics. Yes. So there she is right there. All right. So let's go to the next one.
Yeah.
My neighbor's keeper.
I feel like we're just like going in. Yeah. So another creative way where myself and my roommates stepped up since COVID was just checking in on neighbors. I mean, walking around and knocking on people's doors and saying, hey, we're here, we're praying for you, giving out cookies, giving out banana bread. I think I made Rice Krispie treats one of the times, and just letting people know that they're not alone. I think the tendency has been to just kind of shrivel up and be only within the nuclear family. And yeah, to me, that's been really sad how, you know, in effort to save ourselves, we're actually hurting ourselves. And so being able to step out and say, hey, I see you as a human to another human. If you need anything, I'm here. And yeah, just making that connection has been really awesome. Been able to grocery shop for some elderly people whose family lives across town. So yes, their family was providing for them, but just saying, hey, even if you need just like milk, I'll go get that for you. You don't have to call your family an hour away to be able to get that. So that's been really interesting. And also, we didn't even know all of our neighbors, which actually kind of pierced my heart in a way, because something that I really valued in my parents is that they were always connected in their neighborhood when I grew up. And I've been living in this house for a year and only knew maybe 3 or 4 of the neighbors. So this was a great opportunity to learn more about who I live with and who potentially, you know, I could be doing life with around my own backyard. So that's been really good. And me and my roommates have made some really great connections with the people living around here. because of that. So this is actually really interesting. We all have been praying and talking for months and decided that we wanted to become a foster home. So as I mentioned earlier, 5 of us together are single women. We all work, but we also know the blessing that we have in this home, and that it can be used to bless a child / another family. So we chose to partner with an organization called Safe Families, which is a Christian organization. We actually just got approved yesterday, all of our background checks. So we are 100% approved to accept foster kids. I just got a call right before this call, and we have 2 girls coming tomorrow. So life is changing fast over here. And I'm really excited because what I've been learning going through this process, again, you know, we're talking about Generation Z. So a lot of these families are either young mothers that are in Generation Z, and or the children are within that time period of Gen Z. And this is a way to step in and support that generation by giving them a safe place to work out whatever hardships it is that they're in, and be the community for them, so that their future is impacted in a way where then it will translate into generational impact. You know, all it takes is one course correction, if you will, to set something off for future generations. And so that's just really important for me, and I like to do everything I can for that. So yay.
And I think that into Generation Z, as like Stephen Covey began with the end in mind. So you have already started that process of pouring into them and developing them as future leaders, whether it's through your church or mentoring, coaching, or developing in relationships. I love it. I absolutely love it. And so that's excuse me. That's Danielle from a professional and from a personal perspective. So I want to tell you a little bit more about Danielle, because she has her hands in every.
We talk about me enough.
Yeah, it is so amazing. And so what you do professionally actually connects with the guest speaker that we had last week, Austin Reese, because he talked about project management, and he talked about Six Sigma and leading cross-functional teams globally, and quality systems training and mentoring, and the value stream. So it ties right into and connects right into the discussion that we had last week about project management. So I love it. The risk analysis and the Kaizen event, I'm very familiar with that because of Collins Aerospace students that we have in the MBA program. So I just want to ask you a few questions, if you don't mind. From a professional perspective, what strategies have you implemented in creating an environment conducive to innovation for Generation Z?
Yeah, so I actually have a really short presentation so that we can kind of get in the mind frame of who is Generation Z.
Okay.
If I can share that. Yeah.
Sure. All right. So I will get out of this one. Let's move that. And then you want to share it? You want to navigate it? Danielle? Oh, I've lost her.
Yep.
Okay.
You just have to give me ability to share.
Okay. Here we are. So I need to stop sharing this. And to give you.
Yeah, and you have to give me permission to share.
Yeah, I'm trying to see, is that here? No. I can't see it. Where is it?
So if you click on my square and there's an ellipses,
Oh, there you go.
there should be a way to give permission for sharing.
Actually, it's not.
Or you could even make co-host.
With Zoom, you don't need to give permission to share. You should just see a little up arrow on one of your boxes at the bottom, Danielle. Try clicking on that and see if it allows you to share your screen.
Yeah, no, it says the host has disabled participant screen sharing.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay, all right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So that's fine then. I'll just kind of give you a taste of what I have then, and I can send it out later. So basically, just to kind of put ourselves in the mind frame of who is Generation Z, it's anyone born between 1995 and 2012, although some people will say 96, 97, 2013, but in that general time frame. So Gen Z is now already in the workforce. Yeah. And it includes my sister, who I'm only 8 years older than. They have grown up in a world of global terrorism, 9/11. They have seen Trump get elected. They've seen Brexit. They have social media and just technology bombardment in their lives. They are the YouTube generation, the digital content generation. They've also seen a lot of social issues like the Supreme Court ruling of same-sex marriage. A lot of studies have described them as influencers, dreamers, entrepreneurs. They're activists. They have very strong opinions. And what's good about that is that they have a responsibility. They have a sense of responsibility that they need to create change in this world. People have kind of connected them to what's called the silent generation of the early 1900s. And what's really interesting, though, is that they're the most connected generation, the most diverse generation. I was reading, in preparation for this, I was reading an article that said in the US, they're 25% of our population right now. So we need to be paying attention to them. And they're also the fastest growing population are multiracial. And so that's a whole different landscape for our country coming up just in the next 10 years of all of these people being in the workforce. They also have are in what has been said in the midst of mental health crisis. I was reading a study that said 90% of the people from Gen Z that were polled had identified with having anxiety and depression. What's really interesting about that is that they also think that morals are relative. I don't know if you've heard the line, "Oh, just go live your truth," right? What's really interesting is that I wanted to kind of connect, then extrapolate to what do they value as a generation. Well, they value equality, they value activism, they value collaboration, they value sustainability. You've seen young folks stand up in front of Congress and other governmental organizations and be very passionate about the world and the environment and what we as humans are doing to the environment. They're truth seekers. They very much value authenticity, and they're very inclusive of people. And as a person who would want to bridge that gap in communication with them, we have to realize that they are entering workforce sooner than previous generations. So they're more likely to go from high school into the workforce than millennials or Gen X or I think boomers are before that, because they see that the traditional options don't always equal success. So going to high school, going to college, getting a master's, the traditional pathway to success is, that's all relative now. They also are very self-directed. They don't need somebody to tell them how to do something or how to find or even share knowledge and information because they have it at their fingertips. So I'm probably going to be answering some of your questions by saying the next few lines, but in order to communicate them and support them as a generation in and out of the workforce, the biggest thing to remember is do not treat them like millennials. So I've seen such a stark contrast between myself as a millennial and my sister and my brother who are Gen Z, and even the kids that I work with right now in high school and middle school that are in that Gen Z people group. They're so other. You know, millennials were kind of like Gen X, and so there was some overlapping. The difference between millennials and Gen Z is that there is very little overlap with what our values are and how we behave. So as a leader, you really have to understand that. They need a lot because they're so technology, I guess I'll say obsessed. They need help with situational awareness. So being a leader that will help them develop some of those soft skills is really, really important. You also have to know that their communication style is different. If I want to talk to my middle schoolers, I send them emojis and memes, and I use apps like Snapchat and Instagram as opposed to Facebook, or I'm sending YouTube videos to convey an idea to them as opposed to texting it out. They want communication immediately and they want it visually. Otherwise, it's somewhat obsolete. They also love collaboration. I've had to take kids to camp. And so when I give them jobs to do to be a part of the process, they're so much more attentive and involved as opposed to, oh, hey, I'm going to show you this thing. That's not how you draw them in. So yeah, I just kind of wanted to put you in that mindset of like who it is that we're talking about before we dive into any of the questions then. And sorry I couldn't share the slides with you, but I'll send them to Karen so she can share.
So it says waiting for Danielle Patelis to control the screen. Do you see the request?
Oh, yeah, it just popped up.
Okay.
So I'm clicking on it, but it's not. No, it says that I'm controlling your screen.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. But that's okay. If you want to just turn off the sharing,
okay.
And we can just have a conversation if you want to do the questions.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Do you
Awesome.
find that it's do you find it difficult to use the Bible as a tool when you're teaching the kids in ministry, as opposed to their phones and iPads? What's their preference for communication?
Yeah. So yeah, some of our kids don't even have a paper Bible, and they prefer it that way. They will use their phones a lot, or iPad or whatever device that they have, a reader. And mostly I think they want practical. They want somewhat of a show me. I'm from St. Louis, which is the show me state. So I won't believe it till I see it.
Yeah.
Is the mentality of this whole generation. As I mentioned before, truth is relative. So my truth is how I'm going to live. And I'm also okay with you having your truth, which you live. So things like the Bible, where it teaches that truth is not relative, that there is a truth, one truth, that truth is Jesus is the Son of God. I believe that it's somewhat difficult for them because they see that as rigid, and as dismissive of other people, and that's really important to them, that all people are included. So as a Christian leader, I'll say my goal is to show them that the Bible and Jesus is the most inclusive. And sometimes that's hard to do, not being in that mindset of their generation and not having the experiences and values that they have. I do, as a leader, struggle with that sometimes, but I am definitely getting better at learning how to communicate that having one truth doesn't mean that you're throwing everything out.
Even in the adult, as I'm teaching ethical leadership, it's relative. It's amazing. And for me as a boomer, and I grew up as a Christian, so there are moral absolutes. Things are relative now. And so how do you translate that without being offensive to them, that Jesus is the Son of God? So yeah, I see that. I see the evolution of this generation is that everything connects and everything is relative. Everything is inclusive. Like you said, they're more racially and ethnically diverse. So for that generation, you talked about your sister, and then you also have your sister's friend. I won't mention any names. Is there, because you're 8 years difference, is there a difference in even how they approach work or approach their profession? Do you find that there's a difference in their methodology and attitudes toward working?
Yeah, definitely. I think that if organizations don't take a look at even in the time that we're in right now, it's not just about get a job, do your work, go home. They want fulfillment. They want a sense of purpose. They want a sense that they are doing something good for the world, not just for themselves. They are concerned definitely about making money and doing things that will advance them in their careers. But I don't think that they're very much interested in doing something solely based on that. Whereas previous generations were very much valued, climbing corporate ladder, and that was the focus. They want elevation in their positions and the experience and the acknowledgement, but they also want to make sure that this social side or this dream side is also fulfilled. So I almost see it as more of a balance that they have.
And this generation is larger than the boomers, which is amazing to me in numbers. And so how do we translate our leadership skills to motivate them, to cultivate, their energy, and they're the entrepreneurs and innovators. So how do we continually motivate them? And then that's one thing, to motivate them, and then to develop a model that's sustainable for these individuals as well, because whereas in the boomer generation, our identity was our job and our profession. But with Gen Zers, as with the millennials, that's not necessarily the case. So what do you suggest in terms of motivating the Gen Zers, number one, and number two, building a sustainable model for them as they go forward in corporate?
It's really interesting because I was on a call earlier with AbbVie. We have a group called Change Makers, which are early career individuals, mostly millennials. And I kind of brought up the point that if we as a company ignore some of the social justice issues that are being brought up right now in the forefront because of COVID, because of racial tensions, because of class disparities, then these companies are going to miss the mark, because my generation is okay with having home life and work life separate. Generations older than me are okay with that kind of divide and dualism, for lack of a better word. Gen Z is not. They see it all interwoven. They see it all connected. So if they're at work and it contradicts what home, their like private life is, that doesn't work for them. They want to be in a company that does value diversity and inclusion. They want to be at a company that does give opportunity for all and work with people who are authentic. So if the older generations, the leaders, don't understand that, they're not going to be able to capture and maintain the talent that Gen Z has to offer. I think, I know, and it's not, I know Dr. Martin Luther King, I just had to look it up, has a quote that said, all life is interrelated. All people are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. And I think Gen Z lives that out. That is very much at the forefront of their mind, where who I am is always who I am. I don't go to work and put, my mask on for work, my professional self on. No, I am who I am at all times, I think is really, really important to them. And if we, as the older generation who are used to doing that, myself included, try to kind of squash them under our thumbs and tell them how it is, how the world works, I think it will be a huge disservice, because since they are so self-assured, they can change the world for the better. We as leaders need to realize that and be able to direct them in a positive direction.
Excellent. Questions from the galley?
Hi, Kim. Hi, Melanie. and Johnson, Lillian.
Hi, thank you so much for the presentation. The information was great. I think the display that we've seen of this generation in the last couple of weeks has really allowed myself, I should speak for myself, has allowed me to see that this generation was built to do something impactful. Because a lot of times, you know, in the news media, we'll hear about Generation X or Generation Z, and it won't, you know, there won't be words used to describe them that are very favorable per se. But I love hearing, you know, the positive things that you presented during your time presenting to us. And then also, I do enjoy and thank you for kind of breaking down best ways to communicate, because I have nieces and nephews, and it's so funny. If I call them, they don't pick up the phone. But if I Snapchat them, they respond within like milliseconds.
Yep.
And I'm like, everything that you're saying, it's just registering so much. And I just have to hope that there's room for the gospel for them, because this is the generation that God is going to pour his spirit out on. And they're going to have the most impact, even though it may look like they are resistant. But I think it is encouraging to know that they seek truth and equality of truth.
Right.
And an equality and truth. So I'm just very, very proud of this generation. And I feel like having people like you who offer themselves as a bridge, or I guess you are a Generation Z as well, but you know, you're able to understand the previous generation and this generation and somehow become that bridge for this generation. It just really does give me hope, because the things that they're fighting for, I'm just like, you know, what is wrong with people being treated like decent, with decency and humanely, no matter what their beliefs are, no matter what their orientation is? Why can't we treat them as such? So, and I think that that's the heart of God too, because he wants that none should perish, but everyone should have eternal life. So thank you so much for this presentation.
Exactly. And I guess coming at it more from the church, as the church, can we step in and step up and actually be Jesus? I don't see very much in the church right now okay, now I'm going to have shots fired, but I don't see very much in the church right now people actually being Jesus, and which is why Gen Z has such a problem with Christianity. And, you know, as I study God's word more, as I learn more about Jesus as my savior, I see just such a disconnect, and I understand the discontentment, and I understand why it's so hard for them to grasp how, you know, how can you presenting yourself as a Christian, as an image bearer, as a person that is upholding this gospel, but focusing on morality as opposed to relationship. And they are very much like, I was reading a study where this generation is more at home than any other generation by choice.
Very
They don't
interesting.
they don't run out of the house as soon as it's 4 o'clock, or when they get home from school, they want to be home with their family. They very much value their parents. Whereas me, like, I didn't want to hear anything from my parents. So if we don't understand that they are ready and willing to have truth be spoken to them, but it has to be the truth, not our version of the truth, not our moralistic version.
Or
You know,
like you said, it has to be demonstrated. It can't just be spoken. It has to be sincere, and there has to be a demonstration. So, you know, I'm with you, you know, during these perilous times, my question is, where's the church? But I ask that question knowing that it is the most powerful body on the earth. And once we step up to who we're and be who we're supposed to be, that's when sustainable change will happen. So, you don't, no shots fired from me toward you for saying that, but that is the honest truth. We need to be the church and not just speak rhetoric of the church, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm a boomer. I'm going to interject. But I think for all of us, we have to be the church we want to see and not worry about anybody else. Because if we worry about the institution, then nothing will ever get done. But all of us have an opportunity to be the church, to be the hands and feet and heart of Jesus, and to be that model, as Kim said. And because to your point, Danielle, you don't want that Pharisaic view and you focus so much on behavior. But if you're speaking the word and you're speaking the word in truth, then, you know, we just plant the seed and God will water it and give the increase. So I think that a lot of times we look at the church as the institution, but we have to ask ourselves, what are we doing as the hands, heart, and feet of Jesus? And that's where I am, because I can get bogged down with, especially with all the racial tension that's been going on. It's like, what are the other ministers doing? Because we're the only Black church in McHenry County, and the reach out. So I can look at them and say they don't care, but I can't do that. As Kim knows, I can't stay in that victimization place. I want to use my energy to just plant those seeds for God and trust Him to give the increase. So no shots fired. Absolutely not. I think Lillian might have a question.
Hi, Danielle. Thank you so much for meeting with us today. It's been a pleasure to listen to your perspective as a what is it, a Generation Z?
Mm-hmm.
I'm a millennial, so.
Okay, see, and that's me too. I am a crossover. I am what they call an exennial. I'm Generation X / millennial because I was born in 1977. So my childhood was audio, and my teenage and adult life has been digital. So there's a little bit of different perspective. I'm more like a latchkey kid, and there could be like some detachment issues with that generation. Like you said, Generation Z, they don't mind being at home. They don't mind being at home by themselves or whatever they're doing because they're into their digital content life. And I am raising Generation Z, all four of my kids, ranging from year 1998 through 2001, you know, they are very similar to you. So it's really good for us as older generations to have to envelop your perspective, because it is your perspective that's going to grow the world. Like, for instance, in right now during the time of COVID-19, you know, you'll call a business and sometimes their hold times or their wait times are like 30 minutes or an hour long. And I'm sure that the companies that have listened to the generation Zers or millennials have understood that, hey, we need to maybe give our customers an option to either call them back so that they don't have to hold on, or give them like a social media or a chat station so that we can feel our customers, you know, concerns, because that is how we'll be able to reach that generation. Like you said, Generation Z is the next biggest population behind the boomers. So as we age further, you know, you guys are going to, you know, it's a statement that 40s are the new 20s. Well, Generation Zs are the new boomers. So, you know, companies should pay attention to your perspective. And, you know, with my kids, I understand like some of the things, the way that they process things are kind of alien to me. And I try really hard to understand where they're coming from. And we have to, you know, one thing I've learned about my Generation Zers are that when they are passionate about something, you cannot stop them. I don't care what you do, what you say, they will see it through to completion. And they may even change what they're passionate about, but whatever drives their passion, they will see it through to completion. So, you know, I just, that tells me if I'm going to lead multi-generational people, teams, that I am going to pay close attention to what that individual is bringing to the table. And I am going to make sure that I do not discredit anything, because the devils are in the details. And, you know, you just reminded me like, hey, if I had you in my company, we're going to take off to the moon, because you have the energy, the drive, and you have the moral clarity to actually make it work. You have it to grow our company, grow our business. So thank you. I really do. I thought it was just me, like, not understanding, like, my younger kids or anything. But no, you have a valid point there. You really do have a valid point. I appreciate your perspective.
Yeah, I just to piggyback on what you're saying, it's so true. They have so much potential. And I think even more than my generation, millennials came into the workforce with somewhat of an entitlement issue that we needed to be, you know, we needed to have all the glitz and glam in order to then step up. Whereas they more just want to be valued for their contribution. I've even heard people that my sister knows taking jobs of half salary because that's more fulfilling to them. They're willing to do that. They're willing to step down in terms of money for that fulfillment and for the opportunity to do something big. And almost have like a delayed gratification in a sense. A lot more Gen Zers will work for a startup for beans than millennials were willing to do. Millennials wanted, you know, hey, I go into the workforce, I'm gonna get paid what I'm worth. And Gen Zers are more like, no, I'm gonna put in the blood, sweat, and tears to make a difference. So if employers recognize that, then also take the opportunity to elevate them, they'll have that loyalty of their generation. Honestly, millennials actually change jobs every 1 to 2 years. or even more often than other generations, because our mindset is more, in a sense, materialistic, and or we want that recognition. So let's say somebody's in a job and they want to be a manager, and they don't see that that's going to be an option for them at their company that they're within a given amount of time, whether that's realistic or not, they're gonna move. Whereas if a Gen Zer has that same position and they're fulfilled and they feel challenged, they're more likely to stay. So it doesn't mean to abuse that fact about them as leaders, but just to kind of collaborate with them and utilize some of these characteristics that they have.
Danielle,
You are so.
Oh, go ahead, Lillian.
No, well, I was just going to say that you are so right that that should not be used against you, period. Because I once worked at a job where they wanted to shift their workforce from like the boomers and the older population over to the younger population, and they said that it was a factor of cost, but really they were taking advantage of the fact that people that are younger, the younger millennials, they are willing to come in and work harder than the older population is, just because the older populations are more set in their ways. And, that's not a bad thing, because that's where the experience lies, right? Like the people that are millennials or newer to the company, they haven't had the bumps and bruises of, learning the business and knowing what works best for the business. But what they do bring is fresh ideas and, other ways to approach problems. So, but a lot of businesses, and I would say it depends on the management team, the leadership team, how they are approaching that aspect of our millennials or Generation Zers, because, that should be something that's celebrated. And it should be something that's grown to help that individual realize their goals and dreams. And, I felt that it was kind of bad that they were shining the negative light on their change when they could have definitely gone a different direction to not make the older population feel bad, but also make the newer population feel valued.
I think
some of the articles I was reading actually says that Gen Z relates the best to boomers. Do you feel that way, Karen?
I do. I really do. I absolutely do. That's something about that entrepreneurial spirit that I love, and it's engaging to me, and because I'm open to learn different things. And so it challenges me to think outside of the box, because I'm used to, loyalty, commitment, identity, all of those things. And then you have a generation here that's different. Their identity is who they are. It's not the material things. It's not the job. And they already know what they want to do and what they want to contribute in life. So I find it exciting. I really do. Not everybody thinks that way. I mean, when you're looking at a Gen Z or millennial, even Generation X, when you're looking at someone that's going to take your job, your livelihood. And so, you doesn't necessarily want to advance to that next level in life. But the good thing about it is that you can still continue to brand yourself. I'm rebranding myself all the time. It's fun. You know what I mean? Just having fun with life. But I did want just to ask you a question. Do you find that ADV is open to that social justice connection?
When you say social justice connection, do you mean, are they willing to make the changes within their organization that is related to the times that we're in?
Yeah.
Yeah, very much so.
Attract and retain the Gen Z generation. Yeah.
So I think that they might not be looking at it from a future perspective in terms of the workforce coming in. they're definitely looking at it as a response to the times right now.
Okay.
But any company that does not react to what's going on right now will lose the opportunity to be kind of, you know, they won't be alluring to the next generation. They won't have what that generation wants in a company, and they won't be able to have the opportunity to benefit from what that generation has to offer. So like AbbVie has been having a lot of discussions, I've heard, at the top, and has been sending out a lot of equality, diversity, and inclusion emails and resources for people to have the opportunity to partake in. Yesterday, we even had Dr. Bernice King give a talk to our organization, which was amazing. They actually had her back in February for Black History Month. So it was amazing to be able to hear her perspective on what's going on right now. So yeah, it's exciting to work for a company that is open. There's definitely a lot of opportunity for growth. It's not perfect, but I can't imagine even working at my previous company in this time. It would have been difficult because not only is there not inclusion in terms of race, but in terms of class, in terms of gender, they were very closed-minded, boys club, if you will. But that's also the nature of manufacturing in general. So.
Well, what's exciting about it is that we all have an opportunity to build from within and create from within. That's what I like about it. Okay, so this is here are my resources, this is what I can offer, here are my deficiencies, so what can we do to build together? And Nardalyn has had her hand up for about 2 minutes. So the floor is yours.
No, I don't. Hi, Danielle. It's so lovely to see you again. Hi.
So good to hear your voice.
I know. I was so excited, and I apologize. I didn't get a chance to join right away as the forum started. And Dr. Love, I just love that you're doing these Friday night chats. You know, it's the end of the week. We can just relax. We're not worried about tomorrow morning. We can just listen in and participate to these discussions. But what I heard, I really just want to commend you, is really what I want to do, for what you're doing. And I think, you know, when it talks about, you talk about the church, but I think each of us have the church within us, and it's collectively that we pull that out to society. So the things you're doing with the children, I saw that part of it. It's just amazing what you're able to do. My son is 4. My son is 4, so he's not 5 yet. Otherwise, I would definitely try to join those sessions that you have, and you're fostering. I mean, that's so commendable as well. So congratulations on all those fronts.
Thank you.
Just a quick question: that what led you to study the generational perspective, or the generational paradigm, is what I would call it? How did you get into to looking at that and researching it and being so knowledgeable? I don't think I've heard those X and Z's in so many in any conversation before now, and being able to explain it so well that I was like, oh, you know, that's what's going on. That's why this makes sense to me now. So what made you go into that review of the different generation?
So it was actually somewhat of an aha moment for me, being involved in children's ministry and just having that tension of seeing that we were missing the mark with kids, that church is more like a social club than a place where they come to have life and do life. And even kids that have grown up in the church, like, it's totally missing the mark for them, and something has to change. And I definitely was not educated myself. Like, I love kids, I love being silly and having fun, but being a leader and actually pouring into somebody is more than just the fun part. It's the development of character. It's the setting them up for success and being able to help them understand that there are certain things that are true and not true, and that will get you what you really desire, not just what is desirable right now in this moment. Like, really, when you strip everything away, what is it that we desire in life? And kids have awareness enough to be able to be, directed in that way, which those of you who are parents, that you understand that about your children. So I had started reading a lot of parenting books and going to conferences for children's ministry. And it was at one of the conferences that there was an organization called AXIS, AXIS, that spoke on generations and the difference between generations. And I had heard terms like that before, but during their talk, I really understood how our media even kind of sheds a bad light generation after generation. Like, oh, the boomers are great. Gen X sucks. The millennials suck even more. Gen Z sucks. Like, for lack of better terms. They're so lazy. They're just obsessed with devices. They're addicted to their phones. And not having an awareness of, but what is it that they bring to the table? What is it that I have to understand as an older person that will actually kind of break some of these things that are a disservice for them and flip it into something that is empowering? And so that's, after that conference, I really dug into, it's Barna is the organization. They do a lot of studies, especially within the church. So I've read so many Barna articles. I've tapped into the resources on Axis. And once I started doing that, the connections that I've had with our middle schoolers specifically and high schoolers has just shot through the roof. It's now deeper than superficial, because the way generations related to each other before, like I said, Gen X and millennials, they do have an overlapping. So from a Gen Xer to a millennial, there was something for them to kind of relate on and be able to have kind of a pull through. And then same for generations similar to them, except for the generation that grew up in the Depression, right? So they were another generation that had such a huge shift.
Yes.
Because of the experience that they grew up in. Gen Z is like that. They have a whole new framework than these 3 or 4 generations before them, because of like what I mentioned, like global terrorism, the technology boom. Like, this generation doesn't know what it means to not have a phone. Can you even process that? Like, I know what a dial tone is. They've never heard anything like that. And so, between just what has happened in the world in terms of the social side, coupled with the just vast advancement of technology, the millennials and Gen Z, they're on 2 different levels. So there's none of that overlapping, if you will. So just, I had that aha moment and have been digging in. I still have so much to learn. It's still very difficult for me. Sometimes I'll have conversations with the kids and just feel completely lost. And I'm like, that didn't do anything. That didn't do any good. But thankfully, I am a prayerful woman, and I know that God stands in the gap for everything that I fail on, or don't communicate well, or can't get onto their level. I just have to rely on Him to fill in where I fall short, honestly. And it's amazing, because I've even heard from parents, like, we don't know what, not to toot my horn, but just to let you know that this is available to you as well. doing the researching and trying to be in the position of humility and of learning and of wanting to understand is really impactful. So I've had parents tell me, like, your presence in my child's life is huge. I'm like, oh, really? Because they never talk to me. I don't understand. Like, we communicate with pictures. Like, how, like, to me, that's silly. To me, that's not very deep. But to them, it is. And so that's kind of what got me on that rabbit trail of really wanting to understand. I had to, in order to make an impact, I have to be in a position of learning and seeking to understand.
That's so powerful. Just to say this, and you just summed it up for me, is what you did was you seek first to understand, then to be understood. And that is, according to Stephen Covey, that is so powerful. And thank you for sharing all that you've shared and what I've heard so far. I appreciate you for all that you do.
Thank you.
Melanie, do you have a question? Okay.
I see from Lillian, it says AbbVie seems to be an inclusive company, and AbbVie could really set itself apart by getting in front of COVID-19 medication distribution to financially challenged market using their current or even enhanced structure for distribution. I hope that the powers will be heard. You will hear my voice to do a financial analysis on my matter. I mean, I don't really have a voice there, honestly. I'm kind of like, I just started there, but there are people that are in a higher position. I believe Tony Shaw spoke to you guys a few weeks back. So he has a position of authority and has been in those conversations with our CEO and CFO, understanding that it's not just about AbbVie as a company in terms of the equality, diversity, inclusion, but in terms of our customers. So it's inward and outward. If we don't understand about, diversity and inclusion inside, how are we supposed to understand that for the benefit of our customers outside? Also understanding not just the workforce that is coming into our company is Gen Z, but the workforce in the healthcare field is going to be Gen Z. The patients are going to be Gen Z. So if they don't see a company that is modeling something that they stand for, you're going to lose on both sides. So yeah, that's a very good point.
As a boomer, when I hear about companies taking a stand, for me, I really had to process that, because my background is in economics, so clear capitalists, and I did not understand. I really had to just step outside of myself to get an understanding of what is important in making those connections, because that becomes a part of the identity. And so teaching keeps you in touch with what's going on. And then you have to ask yourself, are you open enough to, consider those perspectives? It's not that it's wrong, it's different, and that's okay. But I just want to share something with you. I was over teaching Evan and Avery today, that little piano lessons. And so I did something different with them. They could not turn the piano on. We went through the fingering and the theory, but they didn't hear any sound. And so it was very difficult for them because they wanted sound, they wanted noise. And I said, no, we're not turning the piano on at all. Well, after they got the exercise, it was very easy for them, because in their heads, it's like rapid fire thoughts, right? Okay, this is what I have to do to get to the next level. For Avery, my youngest grandson, if I do what Nana says, I can play my video game. And so already he has processed and strategized what was going to happen, because he wanted that desired outcome to move to the next level. For me, I wanted fellowship. What did you learn? Let's be reflective, all of those things that they didn't care about any of that. So to just understand who they are and what they want to be in life and what they're connected to, it is amazing. And your knowledge, you have in-depth knowledge and wisdom of kids. I so enjoyed it. I so enjoyed your presentation. I want to give Melanie one more chance. Let's see. I don't, there she is. Okay. Melanie? I can't hear her though. Oh, let's see. Let me send her a note. Find out what's going on here. Okay, no audio.
Do you hear me now?
Yes.
Ah, okay. Little technical difficulty.
Hello.
But not a lot to add to that. I've really appreciated the input that you've had, and I agree with that stance of humility. I think the older I get, the more I realize that we come up against situations that it's very difficult to really understand where the other person's coming from 100% of the time. And that connection with just being grounded in God's word and staying connected to him. And he sometimes gives that insight where we can't really grasp it any other way. So I really appreciated, bringing in that spiritual aspect, because I mean, that it is so, our relationship with God is so relevant to everything that we go through. And right now I'm looking at a possible promotion as a boomer into an organization that is showing some signs of change and being ready for even Generation Z coming up and, being takeovers. In a sense, that's intimidating to me. I feel like a Moses at this place, because I feel like, okay, I'm older, and usually people as older, they're kind of looking for retirement, and I'm not. And I want to be relevant. I want to be relevant in the workplace and be open. And so this really resonates, being humble, being connected with God, and allowing him to just direct our steps. So really appreciated your presentation. Thanks.
Thank you. You kind of mentioned, like, as a boomer, that you would be pushed out by Gen Z. I think that that's a really rigid way to view it, because power is exponential, not that you divide power to give to. So your power as a person of experience and knowledge and being able to influence the next generation, using that to amplify what they have to offer. And like I said, they are collaborative. They're not, they don't really want to come in and take over in the same sense that millennials would be like cutthroat and wanting to push people out of the way to climb. They are very focused on how can I be a part of what you're doing and make a difference alongside you. So your power and influence as a senior level employee with these new Gen Z employees, it's like think of it as Jesus. His power it's not that he gave power and then his power left. Right. There was always more, and it was multiplied. It was exponential. So I think we need to reframe how we approach that with the upcoming generation.
I really appreciate that. Didn't mean to come out as though rigid. I guess most of my immediate relationships with younger have been more millennials, and that's more difficult. And perhaps, as you've said, Gen Z will be easier to deal with. It's just, and really I have to go back to the place in my own self is that I need to be who God created me to be and do the job he created me to do. And don't worry about the rest. I mean, just try to keep learning, try to keep, being in tune with, what's going on around me as well as inside and what God is doing, what his work is. So, I really appreciated your words. Thank you.
When I was, the youth ministry, so I had Gen Xers first, so that was fine. Discipleship class, we had 20. They were beautiful. We got along. And then the next generation, millennials, a little more difficult, but that's okay. Then we have the Gen Zers. They are so innovative and so hungry to learn, but you're right, you have to present it in a way that they understood. It has to make sense to them because they are very practical. And one thing I love about them is that sense of community, that absolute sense of community. They desired, they wanted it. Even with COVID-19, I've been having meetings with them every Sunday, this group, this young group. And so last Sunday, I didn't have it. It was Father's Day. I gave myself, permission to have a Sunday off. And we were at the table talking with my grandsons. I said, well, next Sunday would be the last Sunday. And they said, absolutely not. They want to continue because they love that community. And so, Danielle, I just want to say thank you because you're so knowledgeable and you brought things to the forefront professionally and personally. And you're a change maker. You really are. And I want to say blessings on your new foster care ministry. 2 girls, right?
Yeah.
2 girls. What are the ages?
3 and 5.
3 and oh, so much fun.
I know.
So much fun. Well, God bless you. And Kim, there she is. Kim, could I ask you to pray over Danielle and close out?
Yes, of
Okay.
course.
Hold on one moment. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, congratulations on that. That is something.
Yeah. She had to step away just for a
Yeah,
second.
I saw that. Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And children are a blessing from the Lord. And sometimes I have a 7-year-old, and sometimes I have to refer to him as my inheritance from God when things get a little rough in our house. And I have to remind myself that he really is a gift and he's to be treated as such. So I just pray over you and your roommates as you take on this new responsibility. So Father, we come to you in the name of Jesus and we thank you and praise you, Father God, for your hand of blessing upon all of us at this time, Father God. In the middle of a pandemic, Father God, you've caused us to see a blessing in everything, even in this time of fellowship, Father. We thank you and praise you for your presence here. We thank you for Danielle and her roommates, Father, that you impart to them the desire to be an extension of your love, Father God, to those who may not know of you otherwise, Father. We thank you and praise you for the opportunity that they have to host this 3-year-old and this 5-year-old, these beautiful little girls, Father, who have been created in your image. As they come into this new environment, Father, may they experience your warmth. May they experience your love. May they come to know you in a real and tangible way, Father, through Danielle and her roommates. I pray that you will give her and her roommates wisdom, Father God, that you will give them strength, Father God, that you will provide for them, Lord God, everything that they need in the area of tangible needs, emotional needs, Father God, physical needs for them, themselves and these children, Father God. We thank you and praise you that everything good and perfect comes from above, and we know that these children are gifts from you, and we celebrate them in their life and opportunity that they have to become women of God as they see modeled in the house and in their lives as they move in with Danielle and her roommates. And we give you all the glory in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank
Amen.
you.
Thank you so much, Kim.
And thank you once
My
again,
pleasure.
Danielle. So we will not convene again until July 10th when Dr. Carl Wyatt will be joining us, and his topic is resource optimization and technology leadership. So ladies, thank you and have a blessed weekend. Thank you once again, Danielle. God bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Love.
Thank
Have a
you.
wonderful
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Let's see if